You've been very active lately in the media rounds. I've seen you a few times. Your criticisms of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. One particular clip caught my attention where you described the administration's maybe policy or governance style as, and I quote, deception, destitution, and hopelessness. Can you please expatiate on this? What do you mean?
Right, good. So it's been a year, and I just wrote a piece titled the same. Tinubu's reign of deception, destitution, and hopelessness in a year. So in a span of a year, if you've lived in this country, and there is no hiding it, our people are poorer. The price of petrol was what, and what is it now? The price of the dollar was what, and what is it now? Rice is out of reach of the common man. A bag of 50 kilos of rice is over 70,000.
80 thereabouts, 85.
What is the minimum wage? 30,000. How much does a soldier on the war front earn? 50, 60,000. So we have a soldier fighting for us. Yet his family cannot buy him rice. And we think this government is doing right. Millions more Nigerians. This is in a country where we have in 2019, the data from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, 133 million Nigerians. Out of the 200 million, that is 65 million, 65% of Nigerians are in multi-dimensional poverty. This policy has done nothing but add millions more into multi-dimensional poverty. We had, this is a past, over 20 million Nigerians out of school. Now, because of this, millions of parents cannot pay the school fees of their children. So we have millions more out of school. And I know for a fact, the millions of Nigeria, predominantly women and children, in this our land of plenty, they go to bed hungry, with no certainty of anything to eat when they wake up. Millions of Nigerians are hungry. Millions more are out of school. Millions are in multidimensional poverty. The salary of an average worker cannot pay for his rent, food, school fees for his children, and transportation. The soldier on the war front, his salary cannot buy him a bag of rice. And we think this government is doing right. If we're honest with ourselves, the same president, with this poverty, he is building a 15.6 trillion highway.
The Lagos-Calabar
Coastal Highway. 15.6 trillion is how much? Is 56% of the 28 trillion budget, 2024 budget. This highway was given, the president gave him to his bosom friend, did not go through due process. And we think all is well. People are suffering in the land. There is hunger in the land. It's not that there is no food in the market, but people cannot afford to buy this food.
Sorry, Prof. Which of the president's policies specifically do you criticize?
All of them.
Like?
All of them. Economic policies are a mess. And I've said it again and again. The president, when he came, and what brought all of this sufferance to our people was on the day he was inaugurated, on the 29th of May last year, a year to the date, at his inauguration, he flippantly just removed fuel subsidy without his cabinet, without consulting widely, without consulting with elders, with leaders in the community, with security services. Why? Because of the national implications of this. And he did not have a fallback plan to mitigate the effects of all of this. So that just told us that the president was being advised by who? He did not have his team. By shadowy, people I call shadowy armchair economists that know little or nothing about the daily lives of our people. But all these prescriptions, we know these are prescriptions from the World Bank. The World Bank has told several presidents in the past, remove fuel subsidy, devalue your naira, your currency, increase electricity tariff, remove the subsidy on everything, on education, on electricity, on fuel, and increase the taxes. This is exactly the president got this prescription and is giving it to us, and is killing our people. So this is the economic policies that is putting Nigerians in, that's killing Nigerians, literally.
Let me comment, Prof. I hear you, and I'm sure Nigerians listening hear you loud and clear. Now, but what would you say to those who argue, maybe amongst the president's team or supporters of the president from the party and all of that, who say the president inherited, as it were, using a phrase popularized by Professor Chukwuma Soludo, governor of Anambra State, former CBN governor, who should know, who said the present Bola Tinubu administration inherited a dead economy. That is one. Secondly, and that the reforms actually, let's say, removing fuel subsidy, closing the parallel and the official exchange rates of the naira to the dollar, because so many people were shadowy characters, like you said, were profiting from criminal arbitrage. And then thirdly, the president himself has repeatedly said, that these are initial birth pains. You are a physician, a woman goes into labor, there's pain. But eventually when the baby comes out, there's joy everywhere. What do you say to these three counter narratives?
Right, and I say they're all nonsense.
How?
Because the president is not going through any pains. None of his family members is going through any pains. None of his members of the cabinet is going through any pains.
How do you know?
Yeah, because of the cost of governance we're seeing. None of the governors going through any pains. None of the members of the House of Representatives or Senate is going through any pains. We saw them. You remember Ningi Gate? They were padding budgets and they were live on the Senate saying, oh, you got 500 million, 300 million, 400 million. So you're asking people to make sacrifices. You are not making sacrifices.
The vice president's lodge, mansion,
so
the SUVs in the National Assembly.
So all of this, you're telling us to make sacrifices. We're not stupid. We are angry. Nigerians, the mood of the nation is foul. You want to make sacrifices, you want us to make sacrifices, you make that same sacrifices. We don't see that. What happens is that because of removal of this subsidy, the money, the excess money he's gotten, the billions he's gotten, people are not seeing the benefit of that. At least during Abacha, when he removed subsidy, he created PTF. And we are still seeing the benefits of PTF. What this president is doing, all this subsidy, the money he's gotten, he gives the governors some. That's why none of the governors is talking. And he sprinkled some to the members of the National Assembly, gave each one of them over 160 million to buy vehicles. That's why none of them is talking. The members of the National Assembly are not asking questions like we send them to. Our state governors, they are awash with money. That's why they are saying nothing. They go back home. What do they go back home with? Trucks of palliatives and giving our people grains to shut their mouth up. This is 64th year of Nigeria's independence. We are still lining up. Our women are still lining up to receive cups of rice, like you see in war-torn Sudan and Gaza Strip. There's something wrong.
With the millions of arable land, hectares of land
there
over
is,
this country.
there is absolutely something wrong. The cost of governance is too high. Our leaders, from the president, the members of the House of Representatives, the members of the Senate, our governors, they don't show they care.
But Prof, what worries me in this scenario is, and I've been guilty in the past, but I've become born again, as it were. This undue focus on the federal government, because in my own understanding, the president is more or less what I would liken to a class captain or a conductor of an orchestra, as it were. So you have these 36 state governors, and then further, below, you have supposedly the third tier of governments, the 774 local governments, which is where action, you bring governance closest to the people. Delivery of primary, secondary education, healthcare services, primary healthcare services, agriculture, name it, markets and all of that, but it's collapsed completely. So, Prof, my question is, are we being fair in our undue or over chastisement of the president? Because I think the bulk of the blame lies squarely at the feet of the governors. Mind you, the governors deliberately, not this current governors, this one plus since 1999, they've killed, as it were, the local governments. The president does not seize the resources, the allocation of the governors. If he did, there will be a revolution in Nigeria. But the governors have not only seized the monies of the local governments, they've ensured no democracy takes place there. What do you say to this, Prof?
Right, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is guilty as charged too, because he was the governor of Lagos for 8 years. He did the same thing these same governors are doing.
But he's trying to remedy that
Right,
now.
he did the same thing these governors are doing. So it is from, you get this thing from the leader. I mean, I've been one of the fiercest critics of all our governors. Over 80% of the problems we see in this country are the faults of the governors.
True.
End of story.
True.
It's not the president, during President Muhammadu Buhari, I've been saying, it's not the president that builds schools, hospitals, employ people. It's not the president that pays salaries. It's not the president that pays pension. It is the governors.
Absolutely.
All the governors, without exception.
Absolutely.
They do not do what they are supposed to do, and they are continuing to do. They are acting as sovereign. All the excess money they get, we have not seen commensurate development back home. And I say it, I have been very outspoken about insecurity in my part of this country. And I have said it again and again. Banditry is a social problem that we're increasingly militarizing. And the governors hold the levers. Hold the levers. The drivers of insecurity. What are the drivers of insecurity? You have hopelessness back home. You have unemployment. You have kids that haven't gone to school. The schools are in a mess. The hospitals are in a mess. There is burgeoning birth.
Youth bulge.
There is hunger in the land. And you expect peace? I've said it again and again and again. There's no military. There is no police that can quell the anger of hungry people. The primary basic problems are our governors. They have emasculated local governments. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is guilty as charged. He did the same in Lagos. They have emasculated all local governments. Nothing go down to our people. And now they are awash with money. What do? Buy SUVs, change the money to dollars, buy big mansions all over the country, and they think there's going to be peace back home. There's not going to be peace. But the president and commander-in-chief has a responsibility. He is the one that told the whole world and told us, Emiloko, it's my turn to fix them. And there is a saying, leaders have forfeited the right to make any excuses.
Absolutely.
You are the president, get it done, let us see a difference. What we have seen over the last year is a president that has shown nothing but deception, destitution, and hopelessness. Our people are hopeless. And we need to be very careful about that. I am saying this because I am saying things that his advisors, none of his advisors or ministers will tell him. This is the truth. This is what we see.
Prof, here is a video. I need you to see this video of a school from one of the northeastern states of Nigeria.
This is a primary school and even a junior secondary school in one of the states in northeast Nigeria. Okay, it may interest you to know that this is the GS1 class. Am I right? Yes. This is GS1 class, and then this is what? Primary what? This is primary 4 and 5. Please come close. Let us see the building. Let us see the board. This is primary 4 and 5, and then we will go to the other classes. Please let us see the building. This is what they have as building, and then we have primary 3 and 4 here. This is primary 3 and 4. We have the primary 1 here, or the KG, and then there we have. Primary what here? Primary 1 is here, and KG. Okay? And then it may interest you to know that this is a school that is under the state government. Like I said, it's one of the states in northeast Nigeria. I wouldn't want to mention the states, so that the state will not see us as putting them in bad light. We are calling on well-meaning Nigerians to support these children. It will also interest you to know that the children in this community are up to 200, up to 100.
Prof, you know, going through your bio, one would be tempted, listening to you, you know, that maybe you are an African American, as it were. But you're a Nigerian, full-blooded Nigerian. You went to schools, primary, secondary schools, university in Nigeria. Now, can you explain to any Nigerian, any reasonable, right-thinking, God-fearing Nigerian, how do our governors go to bed and sleep well and eat and play with their kids in this kind of school environment for other Nigerian children? Prof, can you speak to this briefly?
Right. I mean, and that is why I'm a doctor.
Yes.
Why am I in this? I should be seeing patients and not talking about this. But there is a saying of a very old pathologist that said medicine is a social science, but politics is nothing but medicine on the larger scale.
Absolutely.
We see the sufferings of our people in our hospital. There has been, over the last year, there has been an exponential increase in the number of children that are admitted with severe malnutrition, kwashiorkor and marasmus. What we see is a reflection of what's happening in the society. Our governors, we went to school, village primary schools,
Absolutely.
and secondary schools.
Absolutely.
And from those, and I went to Ahmadu Bello University. At that time, is the most diversified student population in this country.
With foreign faculty
we
and all
went
of that.
into the world. No, students from all over the world, all
Exactly.
over the country.
Exactly.
We went into the world and competed favorably in some of the best centers
Held
in the
yours
world.
against the rest of the world.
Some of the best centers in the world. Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, by the time I left, there were 5 Nobel laureates from
Wow.
that center.
Wow.
How many Nobel laureates do we have in the whole of Africa, not even in Nigeria, in medicine? We went into the world, competed favorably from this place. Why? Because leaders of our time invested in us. And they were good custodians of that which they were entrusted with.
Absolutely.
And it is all of these governors, many of these governors are much younger than us.
Absolutely.
All of these governors and ministers benefited from the stewardship of those leaders. It is the same governors and the governors past that have kicked the ladder, but they climbed to where they are. We cannot absolve ourselves. And I say repeatedly, we all bore the pregnancy and gave birth to this suffering and this insecurity we see. Because we've not been responsible, especially our leaders. What does it take to build good schools? What does it take to look at the primary school, the school where those kids in Kuriga were taken, the Kuriga students, 200 and something in Kaduna State. Look at the school, the primary school, look like slaughterhouse. Our schools are not being protected. Well, 200 and something or whatever 100 were taken from that school. Well, they were returned. The government was applauding itself. But they were returned back to that same school.
In the same condition.
My question to all security agencies, governors, and the president is, what are you doing to protect our children in school? Because they are not your children.
Absolutely.
Where are your children? Your children are way out there with our money. So, God Almighty will ask each and every one of them on that day that is certain
Absolutely.
to give account of their stewardship.
Absolutely.